This is Kat and then Jordan. We are here today to congratulate you guys for Agency of the Month for December. You guys have this year crossed the $6 million in new business landmark. Jordan, when you think back to this year and recap how crazy 2020 has been, compared to even years prior, what do you think the big difference for the agency has in 2020?
Yeah, I would say that, over the last year or two, we've really been trying to perfect the model and making sure that we have a way that we could bring a producer in and train them how to do it our way and cut down how long it takes them to become successful. And we've kind of worked on that, like I said, over the last few years, just kind of changing things one little thing at a time. But the really unfortunate thing, the one thing that's changed is coronavirus. It was a massive difference maker, is that people all had to go home. And in fact, in some cases, we had agencies shut down, and we were put in this position, for one, to be able to try to bring people on, really, really good people, and see if the model that we had been working on would work, and it did. So we got this influx of agents where I think we hired somewhere close to 12. I'd have to get the exact numbers, but we were able to hire, onboard, and have them producing a large amount of policies in a really short period of time with very little training.
Sure, that makes sense. Help me too. You mentioned the producer training and the learning curve being important, but then obviously, to your point, having to go home and go remote. How much of a wrench did that throw into your guys' process to get the new hires that you have brought on up to speed quickly? How quickly did you guys adapt? What was most challenging about that adaptation?
We might have just been somewhat ahead of the curve anyways. Like, I think around January, February, I'd kind of put in a bid to buy a lot of headsets and cameras for the team, because I really wanted to start doing more meetings where I could do face-to-face. We ended up really expanding our operation into Dallas, and we're here in Katy, and we do have a really good manager there in Robbie, but he also has his own things that he's working on too. And for me, as the division leader, I needed to be able to talk to those folks quickly and not have to do the whole set up in a meeting, set up an appointment. So I'd already put in to kind of have these things, and I'd always had this vision that training would be pre-done, pre-recorded with videos to kind of complement the in-person training. And we'd already been working on that. It just was very serendipitous that this all happened around the same time of putting these things together. The first little bit was very difficult because we didn't have everything together just yet. But within a short period of time, Amber and I and my agency really ramped up getting these videos finished. And we were able to bring folks on, have them sit down, watch the videos, go through some practice runs, do some shadowing.
Mm-hmm.
So where other agencies may not have even been thinking about being online,
right,
we had already thought about it and been moving towards it. And where it was hard even to get cameras and stuff like that, we already had them all. We didn't have to deal with all that stuff.
Yeah, it's humble of you to say that it's serendipitous. But I know from seeing you guys operate over the last few years as, an agency Zoom client and everything, that you guys are putting in the effort to take great care of your team and stay ahead of the curve. Where do when you guys think about having new ideas so that this serendipity can come along and so bless you with cameras before they sell out?
Yeah.
How do you guys stay abreast to the changes that you want to make with your agency?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I kind of pointed this out earlier, which was just the consistency through specialization is something that we really, really focus on, but it has to be scalable, right? So if somebody comes into my office and is like, hey, I think that this would be a lot better or a lot faster, you have to go and say, what is this person's strengths, right? And is this better for just them, or is this better for everyone? And we have agents who come in all the time with really great ideas, but then you realize they're the only person who might benefit from this because they have a special skill that others maybe don't. And so it has to be something that we can replicate and train. And if it's not, then we give people the space to do their own thing. But when it comes to the onboarding part of it and just our sales process, if it's not something that we could train someone to do within a month, it's just not even on the table usually.
I love that you call out if it's not something that you can train them to do in a month, that it's not on the table. How varied is your staff? Because I think a lot of people hear about scalability, they hear about training, and they're like, I could think about things in the lens of scalability. I could train my staff. But then they have a team that is already so varied in experiences that it seems difficult to really convalesce behind that month long. Like that's how long we're willing to put that time in. How similar is the least experienced person and the most experienced person that you guys are working with, and how did you pick a month?
Yeah, I mean, we still have folks who are on their team now who have years and years of experience, who strangely enough may struggle with some of the technology and some of the different things, but their sales skills keeps them up to date with what we're doing. We've really found that folks who have not really had a long period of time in the industry because they don't have a preconceived notion of what it's supposed to be like, really flourish because we offer a lot of different things. When I talk about specialization, one of the things we really focus on is having a separate service center. So none of our sales agents do any service. We also have a processing team who binds, release, sends out all the paperwork, gets it all back in, puts it all up for the carrier. So we really have our sales team really is focused 100% on answering lead calls and selling them. So for someone who's come from another agency who maybe kind of has this idea that they're going to sit in an office and wait for things to happen, or maybe just have like a general day that they go about, this is maybe not always for them. So folks who are interested in a high pace, high fast environment, you get here in the morning and by the end of the day, it's gone by very fast. Those folks have done very, very well. But they do range from all ages and all ethnicities too. We've even getting ready to expand into a Spanish book of business because we've got so many agents who now speak Spanish. So it's strange to see you notice the type of person, but they don't look like a person that you could take a picture of.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like I notice their energy when they're in the room, like, oh, this person fits with what we do.
That makes sense. I like that you say that it's like their energy. Is it, when you think of energy and you actually begin to define that, is it the adaptability and then like the grit and the resolve to get that done, since you are bringing in people without prior insurance experience? Is it, what intangible, or, besides just their energy, what else do you look for since somebody doesn't have insurance experience? Because I think all of us, really struggle with recruiting. And you guys certainly, like you said, that consistency through specialization and the scaling and training people and that turnaround time needing to be a month on anything new. How do you guys find the right people?
Yeah, so I mean, I think having some experience is definitely important. So we're looking, generally it's folks who have got 1 to 2 years who have been in a traditional agency, who have done it one specific way and done it long enough to not have it be their way, but then also recognize the counterpoints that you're throwing at them when you say, hey, I'm not going to have you do any paperwork. I'm not going to have you do any service work. I'm just going to have you sell. It's a salesperson when they go, oh my gosh, that you got to be kidding me. So you're going to feed me leads. You're going to take all my service work and do all my paperwork. There's an energy in the conversation in which their eyes open up and go, this is exactly what I want to do. Like I've been working at a place where I have to do all my own service work, and I'm really good at selling, but I'm really unorganized. Like the one kind of like key attribute when we do our personality test is an unorganized person. Usually tends to be a really, really good salesperson. They're really good on the phone, but they just need someone else to button up the paperwork for them.
Right. I would absolutely fail. I would like to say that I'm organized.
Yeah.
How do you think, because you guys have a large operation, how do you think being a salesperson compared to being a sales leader or even a manager in some of your different offices, how do you begin to identify those differences? Because it sounds like you have a really growth oriented culture and you're taking ideas from a lot of, people that are out on the field playing the game all day, every day. How do you guys begin to identify who makes a good leader to continue growing the organization at the rate that you guys, are moving?
Yeah, so that one can sometimes be easy and sometimes can be hard. I think for me, and I don't want to toot anybody's horn, but like we're really focused on leading by example. I will be the first one and the last one here. Marcus, Amber, Rachel, who's in our commercial department. We really work on servant leadership. I will, for the folks who have to go work from home, I am the person who boxes up their computer, right? Marcus is the person who, we get into the mix with them, and our folks who have become team leads,
Mm-hmm.
they see that, and we don't have to ask them to do some of these things. They just start doing it, and you go, oh, that person handled this for me and saw it before I even needed to see it. And in some cases are like, hey, I'd really like to start leading. Can I start doing that? It's been really refreshing to just start seeing folks stand up and come. And even our customer service and retention team, those folks have come together in a different way to keep this business on the books with their own set of leadership as well. Those folks have just stood up and said, hey, I'd like to start making videos on how to make changes, and so that training department is even getting better on its own too. So I think it is just our culture in general of just no one is better or different than anyone else. We all are willing to get into the scrum.
I love that. That's really awesome. You talk about culture and, obviously with as well as you guys are doing, there's little room probably for someone who doesn't fit culture. If there's comes a time, and maybe you guys are avoiding it, but if there comes a time that you have to deal with someone who doesn't fit into culture or isn't hitting their numbers, how do you guys handle that? Because I think a lot of agencies get stuck in that trap that they're almost like held hostage by their employees, and that can certainly be a detriment to culture pretty fast. How are you guys going through that?
Yeah, I'm going to speak a little bit more on the sales side because our account manager team and service team, we identify special individuals for that team to do retention. We do not just allow anyone to continue to talk to customers. So they are a longer term, well-managed group. When you're talking about the sales team, though, when we're talking about that short runway and that short sales time to get them up and going, it's really hard to hang on to a freight train when it's going at full speed.
Yeah,
it is. You can't just hang on and just be kind of like a hanger-oner, right?
right.
When our average producer is doing somewhere between $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in new business premium per month, it's really hard to only do 8 and not realize that, oh, something's different from me than everybody else, right? It's not like there's this group of people who get it and some that don't. The way that this thing works is it's either something that you're about, and for the majority of folks who have not been interested in making it, they've come and told us, like, this is not for me. I'm really sorry. I thought I'd be better at this. I'm gonna do something different.
That's awesome that you guys are building a good enough relationship with those people too, that one, it's that clear, it's not something that you guys have to come in and, scold somebody on. It's something that they're actually coming to you, and still a compliment almost to your culture that they're holding themselves accountable and that they're becoming more self-aware with being with you guys.
We've gotten better at training too. Better at hiring too. It was at first you're not really quite sure. You're looking for experience. You hire folks with experience, and then they go, oh, I wanted to be an insurance agent. I wanted to spend my day advising people and sit with them and go over game plans. And this may be not that, right? Whereas we do procure a lot of leads, and so we have lots of calls coming in every day. So you really do have to be on your game, go over things with clients, finish the sale, move on to the next person. For some folks, it's just not for them, and they realize that pretty early on. And we're doing better about hiring too and explaining the process, so we don't have someone who's not aware of what they're getting into.
Sure, that entirely makes sense. So, well, anything else that you want to kind of add and highlight that you feel like it's really a standout process that either more agents should look at building their own version of it in 2021 here, or that you guys have done really well with, and you want to, give a shout out to the team and thank them for the hard work?
Yeah, I would say that there is not one piece of what we're doing that if it didn't work correctly would work, that any other piece would work fine. So where we may get a lot of praise in Agency Zoom for our sales and for the amount of business we do is only possible because of our service and retention team.
Mm-hmm.
If the agents had to deal with their own service work, this would not be possible. We have an outstanding service and retention team who holds on to these clients for them, keeps them on the books, keeps them taken care of. So it really is a big shout out to them saying, thank you for handling all this business in the background so that we can keep the train moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. You guys are one cog in the machine, but the machine takes everything working correctly to really get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, everyone looks at the man who plants the flag on the moon, but no one looks at all the people who built the rocket ship, right? And so it's really important that we do give massive credit to our salespeople. They probably make the most money. They do all the really cool stuff. They're kind of the hardest job to be good at, but it is not even possible without our processing team and our service center.
I love that. That's awesome. All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Jordan.